This video is going to be all about how to make a basic granny square. I have a very large ball of yellow yarn here, and I have some red off to the side. And we're going to start out with our 5.5mm crochet hook. I've added a ergonomic handle to mine with clay. This is worsted weight yarn. This is actually impeccable yarn that you can get at Michael's. So you're going to start out with a slip knot. Remember that the loop on your hook does not count as one. So you start to do your chain stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You take your hook, put it through that first chain, pull it through, make a slip stitch to join, and now there's this little ring right there. Chain 3, this is going to act as your first double crochet, and then double crochet 2 more times into the ring. That gives you the first, what you call a granny stitch cluster. It'll look like that. You can see the chains over here and the 2 double crochets next to it. Chain 2, and again work 3 double crochets into the ring. There we go. That's 1. Here's 2. There's 3. And you can slide them over just a little bit to make it a little bit more square. You can also tug a little bit on the tail to tighten up the circle just a little bit. Chain 2. Make 3 double crochets into the ring. You're working over the tail. There we go. Slide that over just a hair. Chain 2. Now we've got 3 out of 4 clusters. We only have to do 1 more cluster of 3 double crochets into that ring. Have to pull some more yarn off the ball. Pull that ring really tight with the tail, and now it should look like this. Chain 2, and you can join into the top of the chain 3 at the beginning. So now it looks like this. This is what's called a granny's daughter, and this can be used in all kinds of different projects by itself. You could even put an earring wire in it, make 2 of these, and wear earrings. Now if you want to continue in the same color, this is how I do it for this type of granny square. There's a couple of different ways to do it. This is one way. I will slip stitch across this row to the next corner, and that's where we can chain 3 and we work a corner. Next to that chain 3, we work 2 double crochets. You can slide that over a little bit. I usually do. Draw some more yarn off my giant ball of yellow yarn. Chain 2, and then again in that corner space, work 3 double crochets. And now you have your corner. This is going to be the corner right up there. Now to go across, to jump over these 3 here, chain 1, and then in the next corner space, work 3 double crochets. One more. I'll pull off some more yarn. That's the first part of the corner. work two chain stitches, and work 3 double crochets. It's a 3 2 3 pattern in the corner. 3 double crochets, 2 chains, 3 more double crochets. You can see that this side is starting to form over here on the right. And again, keep going, chain 1, work 3 double crochets, pull some more yarn off the ball. There we go. Got plenty of yarn. We have our 3 double crochet cluster. Chain 2. Work 3 double crochets. Chain 1, because we're going to jump over this cluster from the previous row. Three double crochets. This is American, by the way. We call these 3 double crochets. They'd be called trebles in the UK. Okay, we can sort of like what we call finger block it by stretching it out a little bit. We can see how close to done we're getting with this square. Chain 2, 3 double crochets. There we go. And all that's left is to do a chain 1 and join in the top chain of the chain 3 of the previous of this row. So what we have right now are 2 rounds of a granny square. Now if I wanted to change color at this point, this is what I would do. Take my scissors, cut the yarn, and pull that through to finish it off. That tail can be sewn in later. Although, I would recommend if you're making a blanket, as soon as you complete your square, sew in your tails. Sew in your tails. I am working on a giant granny square project myself, and I made the mistake of not sewing in the tails as I completed each square. And I'm regretting that now. So yes, as soon as the square is completed, sew in the tails. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some red yarn over here. Let's see. I have some red yarn. I'm going to pull out a lot of red yarn from the skein. Because we're getting a little bit of okay, I may need to roll this up into a ball. That would probably be easiest. This is what I tend to do when I change colors on a granny square. I'll take the new color and I'll leave a really super long tail. I'll go into a corner, any corner, doesn't matter. Put that on my hook, just loop it over. There's no knots here. Pull it through. This is one of the ways I will do this. There are a couple of different ways I sometimes do it. Using both strands, chain 3. That's going to make that a really fat chain. You can slide that over to the side. Now, there's a way to wrap your tail. A couple of different ways. I'm going to show you one way that I have learned to do it. By the way, please note that the way I have the yellow yarn, this is the pretty side of the granny square. This is the not pretty side. If you're going to make a giant granny, it probably would do to flip it over and go around so that way you don't get a swing in your project. I'll have to do a video demonstrating this. But anyway, take your yarn. This is the tail right here. I'm holding it against the work. and there's the working yarn up there. Put your hook underneath both, wrap it, go into that yellow yarn there, pull up a loop. It's going to look a little weird. What you want to do is yarn over. You're going to have to pretend that this right here in the middle is one strand of yarn. Pull through all of that, pull through all of that. There we go. You can slide it over to make it look a little bit better. On the next double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through. At this point, what you can do, you can take this tail, oops, you can put it between the hook and the working yarn and pull it through. Steady on, little camera. So it's going to look a little bit fat there, but that's okay. If you want to incorporate this tail into your chain 2, wrap it between the hook and the working yarn, chain, wrap it between the hook and the working yarn, chain. Bring the tail around to the front again, hold it in place with your thumb, put the hook underneath both the tail and the working yarn. Your loop like that, pull through, pull through. This is weaving this in as the stitches are made. Then do this, and before completing the stitch, take your tail, put it between the working yarn and the hook, make sure that's pulled up snug, and finish the stitch. And now with this, you bring it around to the front, wrap the hook under both, pull it up, pull through, pull through. Now, if you wanted to just leave the tail hang as you complete the rest of the square, you can do that. You can possibly do a little weaving in later, just for security, or you could cut the yarn. And we just continue on. Double crochet. We have chained 1 from that corner section. See what we did? Oops. It doesn't look right. The chain is there, but I want to make sure that it's visible. Chain 1. Okay. Then yarn over and work 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space of the row below. So what we did over here, we joined our new yarn in, and we incorporated double thickness of yarn into the chain 3, and then we wove in as we did these double crochets. We wove in as we did these 2 chains right here, and you can't even see it. We did some weaving in on these 3, and on the back you can see here's the tail from where we wove it in. It could be sewn in underneath those loops. Then we did a chain 1 and 3 double crochets, and here we are. So that's what that looks like for the time being. So all you have to do is chain 1, go into the corner space. This is going to be the 3-2-3 pattern. Three double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1, because now you're going to go across this flat part here. You're not making a corner. Right here in the chain 1 space in yellow, you work 3 double crochets. Chain 1, now we're on a corner, so it's going to be 3-2-3. Chain 2, slide this over a little bit, kind of looks like McDonald's colors, doesn't it? 3 double crochets. Chain 1. So we're gonna, now here we have this tail from the previous row. That you can lay it over the top and crochet over it just to keep it in place. Chain 1, go into the next corner, make 3 double crochets. Chain 2, because we're in a corner. Always keep an eye on if we're working on a corner. Corner, there's 2 because you got to get around that corner. And 3 double crochets again. Chain 1, because we're going right into this chain 1 space. In the center of the row, work 3 double crochets, chain 1, and guess what? We're back to the beginning. So all you need to do is make a slip stitch into that chain from the beginning part, and guess what? The round is completed. Very, very basic, very, very basic little granny square. So if you feel like you're completed with that row, you can snip your yarn over, pull through, pull it tight, and now you've got tails to sew in. This is why I strongly recommend, like I said, if you're making an extensive project out of these, sew in your tails as you go. Sew in your tails as you go. And there is a very simple, basic, that was my scissors, very simple, basic granny square. Now, how would you sew in the tails? There's a couple ways to do this. So, I will take a yarn needle, I'll thread the tail on, and I'll look on the back of the work. Usually what I will do is kind of hide it under yarn, preferably of the same color. You can push it through these loops here. You want to skip over one strand of yarn. You don't want to pull it back through. Just pull it through very gently. Bury that yarn underneath. Just nice and gentle. You don't want to pull it too hard, because if you pull it too hard, it'll make the work pucker. What you can do is, you want to go back, your needle right under there, it'll be buried, you won't be able to see it, and then go back again. Nice and easy, don't pull on it too hard. You want to go back and forth at least 3 times. Whoops. There we go. And rethread that. That happens sometimes. This is actually some yarn I've had for quite a while. There we go. Skip over that right there. Right in there. Push it through. If it goes through the actual strands itself, that's fine. Just pull it through nice and gentle. There we go. Right through there. Nice and easy. And then take your scissor. You don't want to cut the work, obviously, but you buried that tail in. And you can't see it at all. With the yarn in the center, I'll thread my yarn needle. And what I'll do, it's a good thing this is yellow, it's pretty clear to see. I'll go back the direction I came. Just nice and gentle. There we go. Over here, through these loops here. Don't tug on it too hard. And I'll go all the way around. Nice and gentle. Like I said, if it gets through the actual fibers of the yarn itself, that's fine. That will help hold it in place. And just go around a few times to make sure that it will stay in one place. It is a very tedious part of crochet, but it's got to be done. We can take our yarn, scissors, and go snip right there. So, I'm not going to do the last two tails. Stretch it out a little bit. You can block these if you wish before using them for a project, or not. If it's a very, very large project like an afghan, chances are the weight of the afghan will do the work of blocking, which is basically, for those who may not know, sometimes using steam or water and stretching out the stitches a little bit so it lays right, so it drapes right, so it doesn't have the little bitty puckers and whatnot that come from working on a project. Pardon me. So there's a basic granny square.